Welcome to Pages to Dialogues, your premier destination for insightful discussions on Christian books. Join me as we delve into the pages of thought-provoking Christian literature and explore the timeless truths and principles that can transform our lives. From classic devotionals to contemporary bestsellers, we'll engage in meaningful dialogues that will inspire, encourage, and challenge you to grow deeper in your faith. So, subscribe to Pages to Dialogues now and join the conversation. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on new episodes and exclusive content. Let's turn pages into conversations that matter.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a really powerful, maybe even unsettling work, Leonard Ravenhill's 1962 book, Revival Praying. And right from the preface, the tone is just monumental. He's writing this, peak Cold War, start of the atomic age.
Exactly, a time when these massive global forces felt overwhelming, things that, as he put it, stagger the thought and imagination of man.
But straight away, he claims prayer. Prayer transcends all of that. It's a huge claim to start with.
It really is. And understanding Ravenhill himself helps. Born 1907, trained at Cliff College, became, England's leading outdoor evangelist for a time.
Huge crowds, right, even during the war.
That's what the sources say, traffic jamming crowds. So he had this background of seeing real spiritual impact, but by 62, he was deeply concerned about the West's spiritual state.
And he uses this moment in 1961, Commander Shepard going into space as his launching point. Literally, everyone's glued to their TVs.
Right, the world's holding its breath, thumping hearts for this leap in science conquering space.
But Ravenhill just flips it.
Immediately, he points out the brutal parallel. At that exact moment, thousands of souls are being launched into a Christless eternity. And his point was, whose heart thumps for that? He forces you to weigh physical achievement against, eternal reality.
No subtlety there. And the social commentary, it feels incredibly current. He talks about society wallowing in the hogmire of sexual laxity.
Yes, and he doesn't just generalize, he points fingers at the Oscars that year, rewarding films about adultery, prostitution, even rape portrayals.
He saw the media getting louder about sin and the church getting quieter.
Precisely. The press, eloquent, the pulpit almost silent, and this whole backdrop, this cultural crisis, leads right into his main argument, chapter 1.
Which is?
Revival isn't just nice to have, it's imperative. Absolutely necessary.
And prayer is the
non-negotiable key.
Okay.
He lays down this challenge. Prayer demands willpower. Prayer recognizes unfinished business. Prayer is a battle for full-grown men, fully armed. This isn't, quiet time with a cup of tea. It's spiritual warfare.
A battle. That language connects directly back to the crisis he sees. He even uses statistics, doesn't he, from Billy Graham around that time.
Yeah, he brings in the numbers to make it concrete. 8 million alcoholics in America then. 500,000 abortions, many among teens, 220,000 illegitimate births. Stark numbers.
He saw this moral breakdown and basically said the church wasn't doing its job.
Its protective, intercessory job, yes. He diagnosed the church's condition as spiritual nakedness and the root cause, prayerlessness.
And for him, that wasn't just like a failing, it was worse.
Much worse. He calls it sin, literally. He quotes 1 Samuel, "God forbid that I should sin against the Lord in ceasing to pray for you."
So not praying for others in that context of collapse is actually sinful in his view.
That's his argument. It's neglecting your duty. It's criminal stagnation because the world is burning, spiritually speaking, and you're standing by.
That's a really high standard. I mean, people get busy, tired.
He acknowledges the difficulty, absolutely. But he argues the consequences of not meeting that standard are visible to spiritual nakedness. It connects to trusting in human solutions instead of God, like Jeremiah warned against.
The whole trusting in man thing.
Right. That's why he's so dismissive of politics as the answer. He says it's like handing out aspirins to incurable cancer patients, just treating symptoms, ignoring the deep spiritual sickness.
Wow. That aspirin analogy really cuts through. So this intense prayer commitment, it's unavoidable for anyone serious about faith.
Completely unavoidable. It leads to that famous line of his, "No man is greater than his prayer life."
Meaning all the external stuff, preaching, organizing, whatever, it doesn't matter as much as what happens in private prayer.
Exactly. Your real spiritual stature, your real power, is determined in the prayer closet, not on the platform. The internal reality has to fuel the external action.
Okay, so if the church back then was failing and prayer is this imperative battle, where do people learn how to do it? He must offer some models.
He does. He points back to biblical and historical examples as a blueprint. He starts with Hannah in the Old Testament.
Samuel's mother, why her?
Because her prayer wasn't just asking politely. The Bible says she was weeping sore, continuing in prayer, really pouring out her soul. It was intense. Travail.
It wasn't just, God, I want a son. It was deeper.
Much deeper. It involved aligning her desperation with God's plan for Israel, and critically, it involved a vow.
The vow to give Samuel back to God.
Yes, that's the key. It cost her something deeply personal. Her prayer wasn't selfish gain, it was consecrated desperation. And through that, God didn't just answer her prayer, he raised up a prophet who changed the nation. That's the model. Costly, aligned prayer.
And this pattern shows up in the New Testament too, right? With the disciples.
Absolutely. Acts makes it clear prayer and revival are wedded, as he puts it. They prayed before Pentecost fully came.
And importantly, they kept praying afterwards.
They continued in prayer. It wasn't a one-off event. It was sustained spiritual work. And Ravenhill then points to church history, to the giants, to show this wasn't unusual. It was the norm for impactful figures.
Okay, let's talk about these giants. Payson, what was his deal?
Edward Payson. His dedication was, well, almost unbelievable today. Sources talk about his knees being calloused from prayer.
Calloused knees.
And get this, actual grooves worn into the wooden floor beside his bed from the sheer time spent wrestling in prayer.
Wait, grooves in the floorboard.
Grooves in the floor. It suggests a physical intensity and endurance. It's just startling. It wasn't casual.
Clearly not. What about John Hyde, the apostle of prayer?
Hyde went even further, apparently, sometimes staying on his face before God for like 40 hours straight, until he felt he had the yea or nay of the Spirit.
40 hours?
People apparently heard him weeping, groaning. It was depicted as real spiritual labor, travail, battling forces we don't see.
So it wasn't just quiet contemplation for these guys.
Not always, no. And it wasn't just the mystical types either. Think about John Wesley, a master organizer, preacher.
But also disciplined in prayer.
Hugely. Ravenhill calls him a prayer habituate of the early hour, often praying 2 hours or more daily. Wesley, M'Cheyne, these great preachers understood that power for God came from time with God on their knees.
Okay, this is intense. But Ravenhill knew people struggled with this, right? He talks about weakness.
Oh, definitely. There's a whole chapter titled, The Flesh is Weak. He's realistic. Even these giants felt fatigue, lack of desire.
He gives an example, Samuel Chadwick.
Yes, Chadwick, who was actually Ravenhill's own teacher. His regret is really telling. Chadwick looked back on his ministry and realized he'd spent about 2/3 of his time on Bible study, 1/3 on prayer.
Which sounds pretty standard, maybe even good for a teacher.
You think so. But Chadwick wished he'd reversed it. 1/3 study, 2/3 prayer.
Why? What did he feel was missing?
He said the seed of the word needed a long time in prayer to actually grow and bear fruit. Just knowing the Bible intellectually wasn't enough. It needed that spiritual watering, that laboring in prayer to become alive and powerful.
So knowledge alone is sterile without the prayer component.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. But prayer isn't always gentle asking, is it? You mentioned warfare, battle, anger.
Right. He tackles that too, the idea of righteous anger.
Yeah.
Be ye angry and sin not. He points to Paul in Athens.
In Acts, seeing all the idols.
Exactly. Paul's spirit was grieved and roused to anger by the idolatry. So for Ravenhill, prayer can be this active emotional engagement against darkness, against blatant evil, a fervent fight.
Okay, so it's essential, it's a battle, it requires overcoming weakness. How does an ordinary person actually connect their, feeble efforts to God's power? He had that light bulb analogy.
Yeah, it's simple but powerful. Chapter 2. The light bulb is prayer. God is the immense power source. But faith is what makes the connection. Faith is the switch, the wire. Without flicking that switch of faith, the bulb, your prayer stays dark no matter how much power is available. You have to plug in.
And stay plugged in. It sounds like he saw it as an all or nothing thing.
Very much so. He basically says, praying, love it or leave it. For the serious believer wanting revival impact, there's hardly a middle course. It's non-negotiable.
So, summing this up, revival isn't automatic. It has conditions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ravenhill hammers this. We can't expect God's power if we ignore his terms. He points to Joel chapter 2. Rend your heart and not your garments. Come back with fasting and with weeping and with mourning.
That's a posture of complete humility, brokenness even.
Yes, that's what he argues unlocks God moving in power. Total surrender, not just outward shows.
And the place where we find out if we're really willing to pay that price is in private, the prayer chamber.
That's the imagery he uses in chapter 15. The prayer chamber is like a mirror. It shows us our real spiritual state, our deformity, as he starkly puts it. We have to face ourselves there, honestly.
Overcome the fear of self-exposure, he says. Wow.
And that leads right to his challenge for you, the listener. Right now, start a prayer chamber this week.
Create that private space.
That space where worldly status means nothing, where only honesty, obedience, faith matter. The place for a real inventory.
He leaves us with one final thought, doesn't he, about procrastination, waiting until we feel like it.
Yeah, from chapter 20, he calls it a trick of the enemy, getting us to wait for the feeling of wanting to pray.
But feelings aren't the point.
Not at all, his conclusion. Feelings or no feelings, we must pray. Discipline over emotion.
So the final challenge really lands back on us.
It does. He leaves us asking, just like he asked readers in 1962, what's stopping your sowing in prayer from reaping in power? What's hindering you today? And what needs to change for that travail, that deep work of prayer to begin? That's the question.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pages to Dialogues. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found valuable insights to apply to your life. If you did, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pages to Dialogues, for more thought-provoking dialogues on Christian books. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this episode. Please leave a comment below, and let's continue the conversation. If you know someone who would benefit from our discussions, please share this episode with them. Your support means the world to us. Finally, if you appreciated this episode, please give us a thumbs up and a like. It helps us reach more people and continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to engaging with you on our next episode of Pages to Dialogues.